Good morning, good afternoon to everybody. I would like to give thanks also to my colleagues, namely Hans de Colonar, Fernando Nuno, and particularly Jose Daniel Fasolino, who provided either review or contributed to this presentation. Let me start from the content of today's presentation. So we will start from energy policy. Then I will present a few slides about governance of energy, and we'll present main characteristics of energy supply, demand, and prices. And finally, I will present a few slides on energy balances and indicators, and will present specifics and issues concerning Polish energy policy. Main figures about my country. So land area is slightly above 300,000 kilometers, which places Poland on 9th place in the ranking of surface of European country. We are quite largely forested country with a population of nearly 40 million people, and industry value added of around 33%, with GDP per capita at a level of $23,000 PPP, and rents for main carriers of energy account for 1.6%. Polish production of energy is mainly based on fossil fuels, and Poland is the second largest coal producer and consumer in Europe after Russia, together with Ukraine, with a production of hard coal at the level of 80 million tons. But in fact, reserves expressed in megatons of oil equivalent are accounting for nearly 20,000 million tons equivalent, and are larger by many orders of magnitude than gas or oil reserves. Coal and lignite represent more than 50% of the country's energy demand, total energy demand, while renewable energy sources are developing quite fast in the country, particularly wind turbines. And Poland was ranked 5th in the last year in the growth rate in this type of generating capacity. Poland last year developed its renewable energy law, but in fact has not succeeded in entering into force. Shale gas exploration has been unsuccessful, and the country continues to import gas through new liquid natural gas terminal in Świnoujście and new gas interconnections. In the chart, in the lower right chart, you can see available renewable capacity in gigawatt, which is at the level of 25 for photovoltaics, 29 gigawatts for wind, and 5 gigawatts for hydro. In 2009, Poland developed its energy policy until 2030, and the main targets of its policy are improvement of energy efficiency, improvement of security of fuels and energy supply, diversification of electricity, particularly electricity generation structure, also by adding new type of generation to our electricity mix, which is nuclear, and developing new renewable energy sources with particular significance of biofuels. Also, the component of our strategy, of our energy plan, is development of competitive fuel energy markets and reduction of environmental impact of the power sector. In fact, Poland developed in the last year its energy policy for 2050. It was brought into consultation in the middle of the year, and the consultation ended up in 2009. But we have a new political force now, and this new national energy plan for 2050 has not been officially published, and but we can expect the same type of emphasis in this new strategy, where coal will remain the main carrier of energy, electricity. When looking into national energy plan in details, energy efficiency is given a priority, and progress in this respect is seen as one of the most important objectives of this policy. And Poland wants to decouple its economic growth from increase of energy consumption. When energy policy will be targeted at the diversification of supplies of raw materials and fuels, and effective and efficient management of coal deposits is the main objective. The diversification of sources of natural gas and crude oil is also relevant. Nuclear project is going to be launched very soon, and Poland is going to build first units of nuclear power plant around 2020. Renewable energy sources are set to, as our target, are set to represent 15% of final energy use, and carbon emissions should be reduced while maintaining high energy security. As I said, energy efficiency has high priority, increasing security of supply, same way, but also, for example, share of biofuels should increase up to 10% by 2020. Poland is fast developing its storage facilities for crude oil and liquid fuels, and extending natural gas transmission and distribution system just for the purpose of becoming less dependent on gas supplies from Russia. However, coal is promoted and will remain the principal energy carrier even for industry, while renewables are scheduled to be, according to our commitments to European Energy Climate Pact, to 15% by 2020. Renewables. Since 2009, Polish National Fund for Environment and Protection and Water Management has made up to 6 billion euro in special funding to support environmental projects. And until December 31, as I said, the new Polish renewable scheme based on quota obligations and green certificates of origins for renewables have been the main tools of Polish renewables policy. In Poland, we actually have quite many obligation schemes, and not only for renewables, but the total number of color certificates is 6, and we are considering adding even 2 new kinds of certificates to the portfolio of obligations. In March 2015, Poland adopted the new Renewable Energy Act, but in fact has not enforced it. And the main components of this new law is the creation of feed-in tariffs for small-sized power plants that both produce and consume energy, so sort of net metering schemes. The price is set up to around 16 euro cents for installations of a size up to 3 kilowatts, and for 14 euro cents for installations up to 10 kilowatts. Then the other component of a scheme is an auction mechanism for renewable plants based on auctions. So this should be completely new projects, and there will be guarantee that the price will remain stable, will remain unchanged, even if the market price increases. And installations are also limited to relatively new technology. I mean, only installations aged maximum 4 years are allowed by this scheme. Also, the component of the plan are micro installations up to 40 kilowatts, which will sell power generation to distribution companies at the average market price of a past quarter. Now let me move to energy efficiency, which is probably the most important out of all 6 main objectives of energy policy. The Energy Efficiency Act was adopted in 2011, defining the purposes of energy saving and establishing a support mechanism based mainly on introduction of white certificates. The Polish Fund for Environment Protection will provide overall aid between at the level of 70 million euro between 2013 and 2020 to improve efficiency of public buildings. And Poland was one of the first countries which adopted Energy Efficiency Action Plan, and according to this plan, the primary energy consumption should account for 96.4 million tons of oil equivalent, and finally energy consumption at the order of 70 million tons, giving a conversion factor of around 75%. As I said, Poland wants to decouple energy efficiency from economic growth, and that's why in the aims, one of them says that the savings are to be at the level of 1.5% yearly, corresponding to final energy savings of 3.7 million tons of oil equivalent. Electricity. Now we go. Now I move to characterization of the main of a structure of Polish energy sector, and I'm starting from electricity, and we have sole transmission system operator, which is called PSE, Polish Power Grid Company, and is owner of all high voltage electricity grid in Poland and responsible for grid operation and power dispatch, and its owner is 100% Polish state. Distribution companies represent around 40% of Polish electricity assets. Electricity prices for households are regulated. They represent about 25% of electricity, while 86% of electricity is in free trade. Market is divided into three instruments: contracts, day-ahead market, which is the largest segment of the market, and balancing, or in other words, technical market. By December 2014, installed capacity in Polish electricity system was 39.4 gigawatt. The capacity increased by more than 3.5 compared to 2010, and the peak annual demand was at the level of 25 gigawatts. In fact, we have two peaks, one in summer and one in winter. And in winter, I think the peak demand is by almost 2 gigawatts higher. But the more critical is the summer peak demand, as Poland is very much dependent on thermal energy and coal fired power plants, and because of this, because of cooling systems, when there are sometimes water reservoirs or direct rivers, because of hot days, it may happen that cooling of these power plants is hard in very hot periods. And also, it also happens that our transmission lines get congested in very hot weather. A large part of Polish energy infrastructure is aged and needs replacement. This is why, according to LCP-IED restrictions, we are supposed to withdraw around 5 gigawatts of our electricity generating capacity until 2016. Demand growth between 2000 and 2012, as I said, as Fernando already said, was much above the European average. Was 24% compared to EU average of 11%. However, still electricity use in Poland is one of the lowest in EU, and is only around 50% of what is per capita use of electricity in Germany, for example. The demand, it's estimated that demand will increase despite improvement in energy efficiency, and this increase is forecasted between 17 and 38% until 2030. This is the picture of Polish DSO market. So we have 4 consolidated groups: Tauron, which is mostly in the south part of the country, Enea in the west, Energa in the north, and PGE, which is the biggest in the central and east part of Poland. Plus, we have also RWE, which is operating in Warsaw. And these 5 DSO are by far the largest distribution system operators in Poland. We have additionally 166 smaller DSO with a license to operate smaller distribution systems. When looking into gas, so Polish gas consumption is now at the level of 17 billion cubic meters and is provided in about 1/3 by our own supplies. 60% comes from Gazprom, from Russia, and 10% from other sources. And this new sources is mainly the new LNG terminal in Świnoujście, having a capacity of about 5 billion cubic meters. The operation has started recently, but the capacity will almost be doubled, in the next year. Interconnection capacity of gas facilities is almost 20 billion cubic meters, and the estimated investment needed for gas infrastructure are assumed to be at the level of 8 billion euros. We have one TSO, about 54 DSO, one storage operator, and 5 liquid natural gas operators. We have around 6 million gas customers, and as I already mentioned, gas dependency is increasing because opening of this new LNG terminal. Market is divided into 3 sectors: contracts, over-the-counter, and exchange. And there are also plans to start production of shale gas, although the first forecast of our deposits accounted for nearly 2 trillion cubic meters. Now they are estimated to be around 500 billion cubic meters. And is forecasted to start before 2020. For coal, it is the main source of electricity, and there is a statement which says that coal is a Polish region of state. Even in Polish strategy for 2050, coal will have at least 50% share in the electricity mix, and it's named as an important stabilizer of Polish energy and one of the pillars of Polish energy security. Poland has more than 1% global resources of hard coal, and the factor 10 resources are have not already started in terms of exploration. So today's coal mines can produce coal for next 60 years. Energy Policy 2030 assumes decreasing demand for coal from today's level of 76.5 million tons to about 60 million tons in 2020, but then the production will increase to 64 million tons, and coal will remain the main pillar of Polish electricity, but overall energy sector. The cost of Polish coal is increasing, and now Poland is facing a big competition from cheaper coal, particularly from Russia, but there are also other directions of import, like even US or Australia or South Africa. But most of subsidized cheap coal is being imported to Poland from Russia, the largest European coal producer. Lignite. Poland is the second. It's the second largest fuel for electricity generation, but Poland is also the second producer of lignite in Europe. So we are now producing at around 64 million tons, and current deposits will suffice for about 20 years. The biggest actually producer of lignite in Europe is Germany, with production of around 200 million tons, so 3 times bigger than Poland. But Poland still holds the second place. And when looking into electricity mix, lignite is used for electricity generation, while hard coal, of course, can be used for other purposes. And in electricity mix, I think I will show it later. There are also scenarios to open new pit mines, but in fact, it's quite expensive, and lignite is seen as a fuel for transition period, rather than a very long-term pillar of let's say energy mix. For nuclear, Poland has no tradition, although in 80s we were constructing our first nuclear power plant in Żanowiec in the northern Poland, which was supposed to have a capacity of 1.6 gigawatts, but abandoned these plans. But now our nuclear program is under development, and Poland is now is doing several feasibility studies, and is setting up a location for a new power plant, which will be in the northern part of Poland, where there are not so many hard coal power plants. So the power unit of a capacity of 1.5 gigawatts should be commissioned around 2022, and by 2030 we will have 3 units like this. This should contribute by 70% of electricity production. Of course, the nuclear program will require qualifications and personnel, and of course cost involvement. But this could be additional stimulus in the country development program. Different scenarios for 2050, which were considered in the new Polish strategy for 2050, assume a different share of nuclear energy between 10 to 60%. As I said, nuclear program is perceived also from the growth perspective, as it may create a lot of joy, new jobs, and create opportunity for growth. Climate. Polish ETS sector is composed in 50%, has contribution of 50% in the total greenhouse gas emissions, and Poland was quite successful in negotiating free allowances between 2013 and 2019. I think for this overall period of 7 years, the value of equivalent investments equivalent to these free allowances was almost at the level of 7 billion euros, and was by far the largest in Europe. And these free allowances were mostly granted to former Eastern European countries, and Poland has more than 50% contribution in this free allowances portfolio. 2020 package targets are 14% reduction of 220 emissions and 15% of at least 15% of renewables in 2020. I think I wanted to say something about free allowances, because I think there are some complaints, that Poland is using income from these allowances not adequately. I mean, it's using it for old installations or installations like power plants which do not exist yet. So there are complaints how Poland is really spending the resources, the income from these free allowances. 2030 package is seen in Poland as quite ambitious, and there are several studies which indicate that from Polish perspective it would generate a cost of around 1% GDP compared to EU average of 0.4%. So Poland is complaining and is acting against two ambitious targets for either 2030 or 2050. This slide presents the main institutions present on Polish energy market. I think you can read faster than I can. So this chart will be available in the presentation, which you will find later on in our materials. So I will not describe it in details. Now I will spend a few seconds on defining the market for electricity and gas. So I think compared to countries like Germany or other countries which were already described in our webinar program, the numbers are actually the lowest. And if we look at the market concentration factors, these are at the level of 2.1 for power and for retail, which compared to Germany, where I think this market concentration factor, this Herfindahl factor, is at the row of 100, if not 1,000. So it indicates that market power of individual companies is rather strong, and it's rather more monopolistic than diversified. Market value for electricity is around 10 billion euro, which when comparing to, for example, Germany, it is nearly 8 times lower. For example, compared to Spain, where the market value is the level of 27 billion euro, and Spain is not by far that much larger than Poland. It is I think good example, that we are still far, in the volume of our market compared to other countries. The installed capacity is 35. Although I think in the previous slides you saw that now it's a bit more than that. I think these data are a little outdated, but it's not very much larger than this. So again, compared to for example, more than 170 gigawatt in Germany, it's rather low. For gas, I think it's even more monopolized than for electricity, and the market value for of gas market is at the level of 3.7 billion euro. There's an interesting thing that Poland is intensively running in the area of smart meters, and already installed more than 400,000 smart meters. Of course, they can be used for DSM, for prosumer practices, but I think one of the main motivations for installing smart meters was the direct reading of smart meters by retailers and elimination of non-technical losses. This is overview of Polish primary energy supply. So you can see that Polish energy independence is quite high. It's quite high. I think among European countries it's one of the highest, because I think the average is around 30–40%, while in Poland is more than 60%, and it's, I think, comparable only to a country like France, which is known of its nuclear electricity supply. You can see that in 60s, for example, in the year 50 years ago, we had big oversupply of primary energy, which we exported mainly in coal. Now our production is less than 80 million tons, while in 60s or 70s it was probably at the level of 150 million tons of hard coal. This is why we had oversupply of total primary energy, and now I think the year in around I think year 1995–2000, we had this breakdown when energy independence went below total primary energy supply. Let me move to the next slide and do some comparison of electricity production by source. So you see 85% is represented by coal. I think in around 50% it's represented by hard coal, and about 35% by lignite. What is worth to mention is that for example, production of electricity from wind is increasing, and has now reached the level of 4%. Also, biomass is a main source. Methane is one of the substantial sources of electricity mix in Poland. I think we are running a little bit out of time, but I will speed up a little bit. So when we look at the power capacity and the production by source, you can see that in production, the share of coal, both hard coal and lignite, is even larger than in terms of capacity. It's, for example, good to compare it to other countries. So, for example, in France, Poland has, for example, bigger share of coal than France of nuclear. So Poland has 85% in terms of electricity production, while France has 74% contribution from nuclear energy. So this, let's say, coal monopoly is somehow larger, than any other carrier, energy carrier in other power systems. For example, in Germany, the coal accounts for 47%, and in other countries in our portfolio, like Italy or Spain, I think this is all these energy carriers for electricity are much better balanced. For interconnectors, actually Polish power grid is not pushing too far into developing our interconnector capacity, but in fact, if we look physically into the interconnection capacity, it's quite large. As you remember, Polish peak power demand is at the level of 25 gigawatts, so interconnection capacity of 8.6 makes it equal to around 30% of peak demand, which is very, very big. But in fact, Poland is one of the most isolated countries because we are internally self-congested, and in fact Poland is limiting its power exchanges with our neighbors. Although recently we have a new interconnection between Poland and Lithuania, as you know, Lithuania after shutting down Ignalina power plant is now in a big deficit of power, and this interconnection will help to export Polish electricity to Lithuania. Poland is also observer in a five-way market coupling in the Eastern Bloc, and has also connection to North Pole through Polish through the DC link of 400 megawatts between Poland and Sweden. When we look into gas interconnection, so the total reserves of natural gas are estimated at about 140 billion cubic meters, and about half of this is available for production. Production is, as I said, is around 30% of demand, and in today's production, it means that it will secure our demand for 12 years ahead. But Poland has recently developed a lot of storage capacities, which are now at the level of 3 billion cubic meters. Industry consumers are responsible, rely in 38% of Polish resources, gas resources. Most imports come from Russia. Okay, now about oil. So we have two large refineries which process 18 million tons of oil, which accounts for 82% of demand for oil fuel. We have our own oil production, same likewise for gas, of a capacity of around 650,000 tons. And oil from Russia is transported to Poland by pipelines, although we have other channels for import. For example, Poland developed similarly as for gas in Świnoujście terminal. We developed a gas terminal which enables Poland to import oil from the sea. Okay. And now this is an overview of final energy consumption. So in terms of final energy consumption, it is a level of 70 million tons equivalent, and the main entities or segments here are, of course, industry, transport, and residential. And for example, what is a bit strange or different than compared to other European countries, that the share of services is a bit lower than in the average. When having industry characteristics, so it's what is seen here, that by far coal is a large carrier of energy in industry. In many European countries, coal is almost negligible, and either oil or gas prevails. In Poland, still in industry, in demand for industry, coal is the largest energy carrier. And electricity, whereas in the average is more than 30%, in some countries electricity share to industry demand is sometimes at the level of 40 or even 50%. In Poland, what is significant is lower than that. It's a level of 28%. Next one is transport. So it's transport. So for transport is likewise in other countries, by more than 90% is dominated by supply of oil. Although in Poland, for example, electricity represents only 1%, so we don't have very much electrified transport compared to, for example, 2% for Poland, while in quite many European countries this share of electricity into transport is at the level of 3 or more percent. Next one is segment of services. Again, what is seen here is that coal represents quite large contribution by 10%, and in services, heat is also usually lower than in Poland. Here in Poland, heat is 11% contribution to the demand structure of services. For residential, what is I think very characteristic is that, again, coal is dominating source. Again, coal is usually at the level of dozen or so percent. In Poland, it's still 31%, and for example, for electricity, yes, for coal. For electricity, it's opposite. I think in Poland it's 13%, while in the average in EU, the electricity weighs around 20 or more percent in overall energy supply in Europe. Also, when you look at the international energy bill, I think coal provides the largest figure in the whole Europe. So in total, it's for industry and households, the coal represents 3 billion euro, which is the largest figure in Europe. We don't have too much taxation, for example, compared to Germany, and taxation especially for the green electricity. And these taxes are presented in this slide. When we compare Polish electricity prices to other countries, so we see that we have lower electricity prices. So when we look into absolute figure, so 2014, the average electricity price was less than 8 euro cents per kilowatt hour. But when we look into standardized scores, so we see that this result is at the level of 4 or 40% of standard deviation in the population of European countries. So it's 40% of standard deviation less than the average, than the European mean. For gas prices, this is again a similar tendency. So it's in relative terms, in standardized score, it's 70% of standard deviation for gas prices. When looking into this simplified energy balance, I think most of these figures after presenting previous slides, are already known, but I want to only show you that, for example, residential sector accounts for much smaller shares than other segments like industry, transport, services. Looking into the next slide, what is seen here, that especially residential for electricity is very small compared to other segments and other energy carriers. So it's a long and big way ahead of Polish electricity sector. Technology. Poland is building, it's already built this regasification terminal. Poland is investing in shale gas. PGE, the largest Polish utility, because it's a vertically consolidated utility composed of generation, DSOs, and retailers. PGE will develop 6 gigawatts of nuclear capacity with the first 303 gigawatts to be commissioned between 2025 and 30. There are many wind projects in Poland, although there are quite many uncertainties which do not make it or do not attract investors as they could. You see in the bottom of this slide that the total investment plans in Poland. So in fact, very large investments are needed in Poland in the next 4 or 5 years, and particularly the largest investments will be spent on new generation units, as Poland will withdraw many existing units because they are very old, of 50 years of age, and because of this integrated pollution control, they have to be withdrawn. But also around 10 billion euros will be invested in distribution grids. A few specifics of Poland. So Poland, as already presented, is very much coal-oriented in other coal-fired plants, and these new plants have even larger unit capacities than the withdrawn plants. So this puts a little bit a question mark on the elasticity or flexibility of future Polish electricity system. The wholesale price of electricity is quite large, whereas for consumers, as already presented, it's below the EU average. Poland, it's very sad information that it's having one of the poorest continuity of supply indicators in Europe, and is having a SAIDI index, so sustained average interruption duration index of nearly 500 minutes. Now it dropped a little bit to around 400 or 300 something minutes, but it's still very large, with SAIFI nearly 4, and particularly these indicators are even worse, much worse, in the rural areas. 4 major coal companies are running at very poor economic efficiency, and only one is fully privatized and profitable. There are issues, so poor energy source diversification, prevalence of coal, which I said probably too many times already. also I said about poor economic performance of Polish mining companies. Indeed, a lot has to be done to make Polish mining industry healthy. Well, the last issue here, Poland has already created its new Ministry of Energy because energy issues are seen as critical for development and for competitiveness of our country, and because of its importance, I think Ministry of Economy has now has created an independent Ministry of Energy nowadays. The conclusion, non-diversified, poor electricity system, poor quality of supply, very large investments already in coal, and for example, Poland already spent a lot of money on different coal-related technologies like coal gasification, fluidization, or carbon capture and storage, or carbon capture and use. Poland will keep rather limited reliance on renewables even in the green scenario in 2050, maximum 39%, and progressing, but rather slowly in getting support schemes right. Transmission grid rather robust, but requiring upgrades, and particularly in some congestion areas, some new investment. Energy transition requires ambitious implementation of EU policy complemented with additional measures. Here are the sources used for preparing this presentation. And finally, I would like to say a few words about the transposition of EU policy. So for ETS, I already said about these complaints to how Poland is spending the income from free allowances, and I think that it's not in accordance to what is seen from the perspective of ETS directive. Then the Renewables Directive, implemented only in part by Energy Law in 2013. The main instruments are guarantees of origin, these green certificates, and quotas required from DSO. There is, however, a lack of full transposition. The new Renewable Direction was supposed to fill in this gap, at least partly, although even this renewable law had several defects, but in fact this law has not been enforced because of requirement of providing full loss-benefit analysis of this law, and it was postponed, and it's still waiting entry into force. The Energy Efficiency Directive, it was partly implemented, but the Energy Efficiency Directive misses good definition of energy services and, for example, ESCOs, and it's a bit unclear placement in local market context hinders large-scale efficiency improvement. And the last word I wanted to say that the new government is now preparing a sort of consultancy or expertise crew, which will support the implementation of energy efficiency measures in Poland. I took already too much time of my presentation, so I would like to apologize for that. Now I think I will pass voice to our host.